Welcome to the Computer Repair Podcast, episode number 277. Need a firewall or UTM? I'm your host, Jeff Halash. This is our live show where we discuss the ins and outs of running your computer repair business. Computer Repair Podcast is brought to you by FreshBooks, the simple, pain-free invoicing solution for freelancers and small business owners. For a free 30-day trial, just go to freshbooks.com/Podnutz and enter Podnutz in the How Did You Hear About Us section. And also by Ninja RMM, the simple-to-use remote monitoring and management solution. Try it free at ninjarmm.com/10off. Let me introduce the co-hosts. We have John Dubinsky from the Maven Group. How you doing, John?
Jeff, I'm a little sore.
Sore from what?
Well, when I'm not on the show, somebody keeps throwing me under the bus.
You know what? That's all right, John, because think about it like this. I forgive you for the pillow you threw at me this weekend. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Oh, my God. At least Bradford has some class. Anyways, good to be here.
Good to have you, man. And also we have Ian Alexander from RepairTech, Sync or MSP, or any of the other things that he does throughout his career. How you doing, Ian?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you, man. All right, John, let's go ahead and kick it off to you and share a tip or story that we could learn from.
Two small tips this week. I don't know what happened or what we said or whatever, but I got a lot of questions about what a domain is, a Windows domain. So really easy. I'll put a link in the show notes. It's a great little article and a great little video about the basics of what a domain is. So I'll throw that in there. And then I got a couple emails asking me for a link to the Pocket Casts Windows 10 app because it's not in the store precisely. So I'll put that back into the show notes as well. And that's it for this week.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I like the Pocket Casts app for Windows 10. It's actually even better than the web browser version and works really good. Plus, you can control it very easily from the keyboard. All your if you have anything on your keyboard where you can do play, stop, fast forward, all that kind of stuff, those buttons do work with that app. So that's kind of cool. All right, Ian, how about you? You had a tip or story that we could learn from?
Yeah, I think I thought of one that people might like. It's pretty straightforward, and I bet a bunch of people already do it. But if you have a break fix operation and you also do managed service stuff, this is a really easy way to get more MSP clients. So you basically think of your break fix operation as a lead generation tool, and everybody that comes in, they work somewhere, and you just think, well, why aren't they bringing it to their internal IT people? And you basically ask them different forms of that question, and you're going to get one of three answers. One, they're really bad, in which case it's like, hey, well, we can help with that. Or two, they're overloaded, in which case you can say, well, we can be a supplement for that. If you're ever overloaded, give us a call. Or third, they don't have one, in which case, why not? There's really three different avenues you can go with that. It's a really great way to start a conversation with MSP client. And that's the tip.
All right, cool. That is a great tip. Yeah, a lot of times we don't think on the fly. We're there to fix problems, and we don't think outside the box to how can I better move forward my business. And it's real simple things like that you just said, Ian. Thinking about those simple questions of asking your customer so that, hey, they're going to give you an answer. And it's always going to be in the back of their mind that you asked them that question. So if it ever does come up again, they're going to look to you. Hey, I know somebody and they're really good. And they took care of my problem over here. So that's really good. All right, I have a quick tip. And this is about taking apart laptops or any type of device where you have to replace a part that you can't normally get. I mean, you can get brand new parts, but when we're talking about laptops, especially DC power jacks, I made a mistake a couple weeks ago. Yes, I admit it. I made a mistake. Doesn't happen often, but it does happen. So what I did was I ordered a power jack for this particular laptop thinking, oh, it's a standard. I can see it. I'm looking at the edge of it. I don't need the part number off of it. I'll just order it for that model of HP or whatever it was. And when I did, I ordered it and the connector was too small. The pin connection for the motherboard was exactly what it was supposed to be because they're all pretty generic, pretty much. But the controller was, the parts that you plug into was way too small. So a lot of us, I was trying to do a shortcut and I didn't want to take apart the whole laptop to get to the part number because you basically got to take the whole thing apart. And normally I do. I was just in a hurry this time. Well, shame on me. I should have went in, pulled apart. There's usually a little tag on either the head of the connector or there's a little sticker that's around the wire of the connector that you can look at the HP, Lenovo part number, Dell part number, whatever it is. And you can type that into eBay or wherever you buy these parts, and it will come up with the exact one you need. You'll order it, and guess what? It fits like probably, I would say 100% of the times that I've done that, it'll fit. So that is my tip. Don't try to shortcut yourself because you cause yourself more time later. All right, let's take a quick break, and then we're going to get into our main topic. Our show today is brought to you by FreshBooks. Small business owners, it's time to be honest about how you feel when dealing with your day-to-day admin work. Nobody likes to do that. Admit it. You can't stand it. It's a total grind. Get that right. The truth is, over 5 million small business owners felt exactly the same way until they discovered FreshBooks. FreshBooks is the dead simple cloud accounting software that's transforming how small business owners handle their paperwork. You have things like invoicing. Use FreshBooks to create and send invoices. Literally takes about 30 seconds. There's no formulas or formatting, just perfectly crafted invoices every time. Online payments. Your clients can pay you online, which often means you end up getting paid a lot faster. Project deposits. There's a super handy deposit feature so you can invoice for a payment up front when you're kicking off a project. You want to get paid for that hardware and things up front so that you're not out at the end of that. Insights. FreshBooks can even show you whether or not a client has looked at the invoice you've emailed. You ever get this? You send out, hey, did you get my invoice? No, I don't think I got your invoice. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, the invoice. Yeah, okay. No, yeah. Now you can know whether or not they opened your email and actually saw the invoice. Very convenient. This is only a fraction of what FreshBooks can do for you. You owe it to yourself to feel the full effect of FreshBooks on you and your small business. For a free 30-day trial, just go to freshbooks.com/Podnutz. Enter Podnutz in the How Did You Hear About Us section. All right. Our main topic today is something that was brought up in the secret Facebook group. And that was, when do you actually need a firewall or UTM? And John, I'm going to go ahead and let you kick it off because you got an email a couple of days ago that we've discussed over the weekend that we're going to kind of parse through.
Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, I got an email, and let's just say, we'll just keep it anonymous for the sake of our discussion. I asked him if it was okay to use the email, and he said, go right ahead. So we're going to read the email, and then we'll break it up into the sections that he broke it up into, and then we can just all apply a little feedback. So it says, hi, John. First question is, are you still working with Calyptix? A friend who operates a support business and computer store about 2 hours away sells Smoothwall. He thinks Calyptix is overkill for small business. At one time, you recommended Arachnus for small business. So let me stop there and say, yes, I still highly recommend Calyptix. For me, as a solo tech, it is a perfect fit and has some great features for a UTM appliance. And in my opinion, Calyptix is not overkill for any business. They have several different options at several different price ranges to fit just about any size business, and even a small unit that you can use in a nonprofit. So I think there's a fit there at any price point. And then, compared to what I've said on other shows, I would suggest over maybe the last 3 or 4 months, my thinking has changed on the Arachnus AN300, but we'll get into that a little bit later. And then he goes on to say, I'm thinking I need to forget about Calyptix. As I learn more, I get bothered more by lower priced alternatives, outdated Calyptix documentation, and an issue where I had to make 4 trips to client site at my expense because of a sudden failure of PPOE, which seemed caused by a firmware update. And the answer was to not use PPOE, which to my relief, the ISP gave me as an option. So I guess we'll parse through this paragraph as well really quick. My first question is, what are the low-priced alternatives that you're looking at that are comparable to what a Calyptix delivers? Calyptix boxes fall into the same price range as SonicWall, WatchGuard, Fortinet, FortiGate, that sort of thing. And then, you know, as we always say on the show, you get what you pay for. My next question to him was, where are you finding your outdated documentation? There is documentation on the Calyptix partner site that does apply to older versions of the firmware and all that. So you do have to kind of keep your eyes open for that. My next question for him is, you made 4 trips out there, but was Calyptix support helping you? I've never had a PPOE issue. I have a few customers left still using PPOE that are stuck on slow DSL service. I haven't had any problems, so I can't really talk to that, but I have run into other problems that are firmware related on a Calyptix box. Had to work with support on maybe a small workaround or something to get things to work until another firmware was released. But I've always had a great experience with support helping me walk through that. And I don't remember a time, at least at this point, that we've ever had an issue with not being able to find some sort of workaround, whatever that may be. And they've actually helped me find some workarounds for networking issues that weren't related to the Calyptix box at all. So, you know, I would give them thumbs up both ways around for their support. And then obviously, you know, I'm on the Calyptix bandwagon, but every vendor is going to have an issue once in a while. On this show, we've talked about Malwarebytes and the patch they rolled out. You know, I'm not defending any of the vendors. I make mistakes in my own business. So, you know, I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm mistake free. I mean, while I'm on the show, I definitely am. But other than that, I do tend to make a show and maybe a mistake once in a while. But, you know, at that point, that's one of the main things that attracted to me Calyptix. Way back when I was talking to them coming about, they had some issues with their firmware 3.0, that it would not do some things. But even in the sales process, they were extremely upfront and honest and said, well, that stinks right now. But so, you know, I found that kind of refreshing. So let's move on in his email. Discussion with the friend went like this. This is what he is saying. After he asked why I was selling something so expensive compared to his $200 firewall or $50 a month service. Again, I'll stop right there. I don't want to say what Calyptix pricing is because I don't know if I'm allowed to be honest with you. I don't know if what I signed is an NDA or not. But Calyptix does have some options that fit into that price range that we just talked about, that I just mentioned. So you can put anything, Calyptix in for a 10 endpoint network up to a 400 endpoint network, and they have models that are sized to fit all that. So I'm not sure what his $200 a month firewall and $50 a month service is, but I have a couple of customers that pay exactly that with a Calyptix box. You know, and then I go back to, so let's assume this, his friend is using Smoothwall. And if you don't know what Smoothwall is, I would maybe equate it to something like Untangled, if you've heard of that. It's sort of an open source software package. And that's just a brief explanation because they do have a business package as well. So if you're interested, I'll put some links into the show notes for you to check that out. I'm not going to talk intelligently about Smoothwall because I actually have no idea. It's just what I read on their homepage. But with that I said, if you know any product you're going to choose, are you going to handle the updates? Are you going to handle the support? Are you familiar with the configuration? You know, all of that. So if you take on a open source product, it might be free for you to implement, and you might be able to implement it on current hardware you have, Untangled, for example. But you're going to have to learn that product. You're going to have to support that product. And then what happens if you have a question? Who are you going to call for help? Again, back to Calyptix, my big thing with Calyptix, I'm a solo tech. So it's almost like I have an employee that is my firewall employee, that all they do is handle my UTM. That's how good Calyptix support is for me. You want me to go on? Any questions this far?
John, one of the things that we talk about a lot of times is how much is your time worth? In other words,
yes.
When you look at things that you want to implement in your business, is it costing you more time or less time? And that's really important, especially for people that are what I will call solo techs, solo business owners. Those people have to have something that is going to work for them instead of they're constantly having to, who wants to update this stuff? We want this stuff done automatically. We want to be able to call somebody, like you said, for support that knows more about the product than we're ever going to learn. A lot of these other products, yeah, there's a low price point, but at that point, here's what I'm going to say. If you're an expert that can use something like an Untangle or something like that, you actually should be charging much more of a premium than I think most people are. And they're not. They're just out there, well, this is part of my package and I can get it in here free. And I would say, and for those out there, correct me if I'm wrong, it seems to me that a lot of these things could cause you more problems and more truck rolls in handling this type of stuff on a regular basis than in being able to make a phone call, remote in, do whatever. Now, maybe some people have learned it really well, but it's hard to say. I look for support from businesses that are going to help me in my business. And I've said this for a long time. And Ian, you might disagree with me here, but if you can get 70% out of a product or service or an employee, I think you're doing very, very well. I think there's a lot of people that out there that they're shooting for the moon and they're going, hey, 100% of the time, I want this baby to work and I want to have zero problems. Well, if that were the case, then all of us would be out of a job, to be honest, because once something's set in place, you wouldn't have to upgrade it. You wouldn't have to do anything with it. It just works. So then we're not needed. And so I look at this stuff as an opportunity to learn new things in the business, become better. There's always a new target to shoot for. And I think a lot of people just get frustrated and they jump from boat to boat to boat as they're all kind of the same to certain.
Well, I think you said a great example, and we have Ian is a great example with RepairTech of this. I mean, I can build a USB stick that has some repair tools on it and run around and do that. But RepairTech obviously keeps all that stuff updated for me, adds a bunch of services on top of that, integrates with a bunch of things. I mean, at a valuable price. I mean, even the time value of my money just to do the basics of updating my tools, you know, what RepairTech does, there's value right there. So, you know, even if that took me an hour a month, what an hour a month isn't near what RepairTech does, bills me at a month. So I'm already ahead. Plus I get everything else. So that's what Calyptix does for me. They're backing up my config. They're pushing the updates to the box, and all my support is included for that cost.
Very good. Ian, what do you have to say about any of the discussion so far?
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys are right on. You kind of want to think high level and be able to focus high level on your business, right? And growing your business and running your business. And it's hard to do that when you are stuck doing low level stuff, like debugging a router or like something like that because it's cheap, right? And so I think that we have kind of learned that over time. I think it is kind of a case-by-case basis for different things. It's not like always, hey, go buy the more expensive thing. That's not always the right answer, but to a certain extent, for example, we use Heroku for a lot of our hosting, and they take care of a lot of the stuff, right? Like the updates, critical security updates. We don't have to worry about that. They do that, right? And we pay extra for that, and that runs on Amazon Web Services, right? So we could go straight to Amazon, but Heroku gives us a bunch of stuff so that we can focus on building the product. And that's really cool because that's really where we should be devoting our time, and that extra amount of money is totally worth it. Because otherwise, then what am I paying people for? It's more like we're paying them to do ops, right? As opposed to paying them to do, you know, feature development and talking to customers and the things that actually matter, right? So I don't know. At the same time, sometimes there's an open source project that's really cool and actually does exactly what you want. And, you know, there's no point in saying like, oh, I'm not going to use those types of solutions ever. You can be open to, you know, all the options and just pick what's best. But in general, being able to focus your attention on what's important is always like a really important consideration for us.
And I'm 100% with you. And that's why I say when we learn some of these less expensive solutions, I'll say that, and we're putting the more time in, again, it goes back to what's our time worth. A lot of people should be charging a premium for being the smart person that's implementing this stuff in their business. So either way, I think you can, you know, maybe you're collecting all the money for that, or you're paying another company. And if it's something that you love to do, that's fine. Just get paid for it. I feel there's a lot of people out there that are kind of going, well, my customer doesn't want this, so I'm just going to put in this free solution because that's all they're willing to pay. No, make them pay through the nose. You're there to protect them and to do the best for their business. So exactly like Ian said, they can continue to do what it is they do, making widgets or whatever it is, instead of taking the time, which they're probably getting paid a lot more money to make widgets than they are to do IT support, of which most of them, if not all, are no good at.
Well, now that Ian mentioned that, I'm going to skip ahead of my list and just kind of bring up that, I'm the Calyptix fanboy, at least on this show, but Calyptix isn't perfect in every way. There are other firewall UTM devices that do some things better than Calyptix, but Calyptix is the best fit for my business. I mean, even off the top of my head, if I just run through firewalls, Calyptix, Smoothwall, Untangled, SonicWall, Fortinet, WatchGuard, Checkpoint, Sophos, Cisco Meraki, Juniper, Barracuda, pfSense, Zero Shell. I mean, there's a lot of firewall UTM appliance options that do. Some are better at some things than others. Some have different price points. You have to pick what is best for your business. What I do see happen is a lot of guys will get frustrated with the UTM appliance because they don't understand everything that's happening. That is another, like with IPD or IPS, it can get confusing because things will be blocked. You have to know a little bit about network terminology more than just setting up a home router. And it can, getting into things like MTU and all this other stuff. I don't want to get into a side tangent or a squirrel moment, but the more powerful the appliance, the more complicated it can get. That's another powerful thing about Calyptix, because I can call them and I have answers if I don't understand. So, I mean, I'm not telling everyone in the world that Calyptix is the best and you shouldn't choose anything else. Calyptix is better for me than the rest. And I would suggest for a lot of solo techs, it's a great fit. And Ian is absolutely correct. I would never say don't use Untangled. If you're an Untangled Pro and you have some sort of setup and you can whip that thing out and it has more flexibility for what you need for your business, I'm going to high five you when I see you at ITO Compass, and I'm going to let you talk to me because maybe it's even better than what I'm using. So I don't think any one of us are telling anybody that, our solution is the only one you can use. Thanks, James. James says, but seriously, they are the best in the chat. So I agree, James. I'm just babbling on to CYA.
No, you're exactly right, John. I think a lot of times, and we've always said this, you have to use whatever is going to work for you in your business, whether it comes to, any types of products and services, any types of documentation you're doing. There are things that are going to work better for the way your mind works, or even maybe the way your employees' minds work. And it's important to not get strayed from that. And we always say, try a lot of things out. We had a conversation the other day on the drive home. Like, hey, you don't know unless you tried it. Now, that doesn't mean I want you to go out there and try drugs or anything like that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying in certain aspects, there are things that you don't know if you haven't actually used it. So get one.
I mean, if we simplify the conversation really simple, that's why there's Snap-on tools, Craftsman tools, Mac tools, cheap tools, because there are options to fit your need.
Yes.
Same in the firewall realm, same in the networking realm, same in the services realm with MSP or RMM or all of that kind of stuff. So the great thing is we have a lot of choices. The bad thing is we have a lot of choices. So
catch 22.
That's right. So moving on in this email, it said his friend tells him that the code releases only come out as needed, but it's not doing much of the security platform stuff. You can turn a bunch of stuff on your platform. I'm thinking he's referring to Calyptix, like UTM, IDS, IPS, ... Most of that is unneeded by SBS customers. The core product is traffic shaping, and we use the open source distribution. It is very cost effective for upgrading customers from nothing to something. All right, my first comment on that is it might be great. I don't know anything about Smoothwall. Smoothwall could actually be better than Calyptix. So let me just say that I don't know. But back to some points in there. Since it's an open source product, I go back to the point of is this person going to learn, manage, update, and take responsibility for all of that? And if he does have trouble, who is he going to call for assistance? Maybe Smoothwall does have paid support. A lot of the open source projects do, or they have a business side that does. And that my belief is sort of changing over the last 3 or 4 months, meaning that I'm starting to believe that every business, no matter the size of the company, needs to have some sort of UTM and firewall appliance that has some sort of filtering in it. If you're running a business, why wouldn't you want the greater uptime, more protection, all of that kind of stuff? And in the world that we live in, let's just be frank, you don't want to be the one that gets infected and is being the hazard on the internet. You want to be a responsible internet citizen out there. So you don't want to be the problem. You just want to be able to do your business. So I kind of disagree with a lot in there. You need to have the UTM functions. You should have IDS and IPS. How are you going to know if you're infected if you don't? So, all of those items I think are important for every size business.
John, what are those exactly?
Simply put, IDS and IPS are intrusion detection and prevention.
Okay.
All right. So they do the monitoring of what is trying to get onto your network, the traffic, or into your network, and they do the monitoring of what's leaving your network.
Okay.
If you want more information on that and what is built into the Calyptix box, you can check out a product called Snort. And Snort is actually open source software. So there is some built into the Calyptix box. So that's a great place to start if you want to learn about that. Any questions there?
Nope. Ian, you got anything to add to that?
All right.
Good.
Almost to the end. So he states that I'm selling Calyptix Firewall for security, compliance for credit card processing, and healthcare. The security protection, including IDS, IPS, constant monitoring and updating, that does not normally include any hourly fee. Sorry, it's kind of broken up here. It says, even the cheapest one provides 3 LAN interfaces that can be connected or separated. What he's talking about is on the back of the UTM device, there's multiple ports that you can use either for multiple LANs, multiple WANs, all sorts of cool stuff. So in a couple of cases, I put internet only wireless on a DMZ LAN interface. I don't agree with, I totally agree with all of that. Those are cool features and basically basic features built into all good UTM appliances. Multiple LAN ports, multiple WAN ports, allowing you to isolate traffic, shape traffic, protect traffic, all that kind of good stuff. So 2 thumbs up on that. That's Calyptix excels at that, and so do many other of the UTM boxes we talked about. His friend says, yep, that's all well and good, but that is still overkill for most static operations. In those places, you only need to protect inbound, not outbound traffic. If I had my buzzer sound, I would play it right now. The smooth wall system gets definitions automatically, but the code updates and health check, we like to do ourselves. Again, like I said, I totally disagree with that. I think you need to monitor all your traffic, incoming and outgoing. Because what if something does breach your protections and gets on your LAN? How are you going to know what's happening inside of your network? So you need to monitor that. And finally, so his last question to me is, so is Calyptix good where you do have things like HIPAA and PCI situations, or Arachnus or Smooth Wall for more simple situations? Any of the UTM products that we talked about, if you know how to manage and support them, are excellent choices for HIPAA, PCI, or any other compliance needs. You need to match your compliance needs to the features on the product you're using and the support that you require. But absolutely, I also agree if you do not have dictated compliance needs, that you should look at what is called the NIST documentation, the NIST cybersecurity documentations, and that will also tell you that you should have a UTM device of some sort. The Arachnus AN300 is just a basic router with what's called a SPI, or Stateful Packet Inspection Firewall. It does not really have any UTM device functions. So basically what we are talking about is that AN300 device lives inside of a UTM device. So your UTM does everything that that AN300 does, plus a whole lot more. And again, my main selling point, which we talked about with the Calyptix, is I'm a one-man shop. So using their service, which is like a firewall as a service platform, I get what I consider to be almost like a full-time firewall employee added onto my business.
That's good.
The end.
Well, I think we've mentioned a lot of things that gives people something to think about as far as stuff coming inside their network, going outside their network. I think we need to, in today's day and age, we need to step up our game. And I can see where the switch is coming from, John, because we're starting to look at things. Man, people are getting taken down left and right as far as information leaking, stuff happening, ransomware hitting businesses for multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars at a pop. And if you can mitigate that for a business, and I don't care what type of business it is, man, even a simple thing like being able to take your QuickBooks database and being able to protect that from getting hosed to where you have to go back and maybe go back, whatever, a year later or year before and try to recreate all the stuff that you brought in your business. How many thousands of dollars is that going to cost you versus the few $1,000s that you might spend on a UTM device? And John, to be honest with you, I didn't know that Calyptix was a quote unquote router firewall. And let's talk about UTM, Unified Threat Management. It's basically an all-in-one box that will move your traffic around your network in a safer manner than just a simple router / firewall will. And there's a lot more things that you can do to protect that traffic on the inside and the outside. So I think that's a good thing. And I think you're right. And how many people are doing small businesses at their home? You know, is this going to even be a thing that, hey, listen, here's, you know what, that Comcast router or whatever, Time Warner, that's not good enough. We need to go past that, and we need to put something in that's going to protect you and your network from getting taken over or, you know, getting some sort of ransomware or whatever.
Well, a good UTM device will automatically protect you against things. Meaning, so we hear about all the names are escaping me, but all the current flaws like in Windows with SMB1 and all of that kind of stuff and things that have been taken advantage of because they're holes in an operating system or something like that. A good UTM like Calyptix will already adjust the settings in their box automatically to protect your LAN against that. So you don't have to worry about that, and you don't have to worry about that for your customers. We also add on to our Calyptix box something that's called Cisco Talos, which is another list of rules and known bad IPs, so that you have all this automatic protection already layered on. So, you know, any UTM device should have those kinds of things built into it, because two things that does. That one, reduces costs for both you and for your customers, meaning you don't have to roll a truck to fix some sort of ransomware or other kind of infection. Plus, they have the continuity and business uptime that they really are expecting. You know, and I'll pick on Ian again, running his business. Obviously, he has some cloud-based businesses, and he just mentioned he paid somebody else to take care of that. You know, obviously, he's paying somebody else because they are the experts at protecting all of the important data that his, you know, our customers put up in his cloud or in his platform. So, you know, he's respecting our data. So, you know, our customers are collecting their customers' data. Shouldn't they respect that? You know, on and on.
Now, Ian, you're talking to probably a lot of computer shops and MSPs nowadays.
Oh, yeah.
Now, what do you hear out in the industry as far as what people are talking about when it comes to the unified threat management, firewalls, and different things like that?
You know, I'm not so sure that I can say anything in specific about firewalls or UTMs. I would say that there's definitely a huge amount of momentum towards things from MSPs right now. It's evolved a lot. I'm seeing a lot more people doing things like dark web monitoring for their clients, where they put their domain or email addresses in there. A lot more like password management stuff, like reselling things like LastPass to their clients. And then it used to just kind of be like, oh, we're going to resell antivirus. But now there's a lot more things like Bitdefender Firewall and like all these other types of products that are another big one I'm hearing a lot of is people reselling security training. You know, Webroot, for example, has a security awareness training program that you can resell to your clients. So there's all kinds of things like that I'm seeing, because people are becoming more aware. I think before it was a little bit of a boogeyman kind of thing. It's like, oh, I'm not going to get hacked. Other people might get hacked, but I think that's just kind of a myth. And now we hear about it left and right, and it's like affecting us on a consumer level at a rate that's like way crazier than before. So I think people are a little bit more prone to be concerned about their security, not only personally, but for their business. And it's therefore easier to sell them security products, but then also kind of more necessary too. So you don't have to feel like you're like fear mongering or something. It's like, this is real. You need this stuff. So I think that overall trend is what I'm seeing, just the widening of what offerings people are giving to their clients. Yeah.
All right. That's good. Yeah, I think we're all seeing kind of a change in what's going on out there. So, John, is there anything else that we need to talk about as far as what other things that maybe is important to think about when we're thinking about installing a firewall or a UTM into a business?
Well, I think one of the biggest considerations you can have, and I think you could just look right at the Podnutz network, is that there are a lot of options, and there has to be one out there that fits your needs, your price points. I mean, if I just pick on some other hosts, obviously Marvin B is a Sonic Wall guy. Matt Rainey is using, I believe, WatchGuard. So, I mean, you're talking about guys that have as much or more experience than I do, and they have chosen to use other products, and obviously they've chosen to use those products successfully, because they have run and have very successful businesses. So, you know, there's not just one solution, but make sure when you evaluate the product you're choosing, don't base that product purely on the initial cost of that product. I think a lot of guys get excited about like Untangled because it can be free. You can put it on a used piece of equipment and it might do the job, but you know, ongoing costs of how are you going to support that? What if that computer dies? You're going to have to maintain the updates. If something goes wrong, how are you getting help? So on and so forth. So again, evaluate what you need, make it fit with your business and your customers. And again, I think every small business, no matter the size, needs to have some sort of UTM appliance moving forward.
Now let's talk about subscription services, which nobody ever wants to talk about. What types of things do you get when you are paying for a service on a monthly basis for a said product or service?
Well, if you have a product that is under a monthly service contract or even annual service contract, you know, Firewall companies do it differently. Whether you pay monthly as a service, you could have you could buy the box and pay for your licenses annually. The boxes that I use from Calyptics come with a monthly fee that I pass through to my clients. It also gives you the opportunity, if you want, to mark that up to make a little bit extra money. So you could create yourself a revenue stream there as well. But that will include things like as configuration backup, automatic upgrade of the device. So one of the points in the email was that, you know, you don't need to worry about these upgrades. That's not the case. So if your box is running a version of SSL or TLS that's been deprecated, the box needs to be upgraded to the latest version. So it supports that to meet your compliance needs. I can't speak to the other UTM devices, but Calyptics does a good job at that of continuously and automatically in the box. The way that it works there is I get an email. It tells me what time and date that box is going to be updated. I can click a link to reschedule it if I don't want it to happen at that time for some particular reason, or it just automatically happens, which is huge for me because I can take that email, throw it in the documentation for my company, and then I get a thumbs up that it happened. And again, I'm creating my documentation that that thing is happening for compliance. The other thing that I get is I get 24/7 support. And I have used it. I think I told you the story this weekend, and maybe I've mentioned it on the show before, is my VoIP provider had a problem. Fortunately for me, they're fantastic. So we're at a customer site at 12:30 at night. I'm actually working with another guy by the name of Charlie who knows more about networking than I'll ever know. So he comes up with an idea how we might be able to route traffic to get around this VoIP problem. I don't know how to do it in my Calyptics box. We call Calyptics, leave a message. They kind of chuckle that we'll never hear back. My phone rings in 5 minutes. Dwayne's on the phone from Calyptics. We spend 90 minutes together and actually have a good time figuring out how to reroute some traffic, create some aliases, get the problem solved. And the important thing about that conversation is it had nothing to do with Calyptics box. Calyptics was helping me solve a problem with something else where their product could provide the solution. So that's the power of the Calyptics support, in my opinion.
That's good.
And so on and so forth.
That's good. Now, Ian, I'm sure you see a lot of things when you're talking to these other companies and stuff too, of wanting to not pay for maybe subscription services and stuff like that. But do you have anything to add as far as the benefits of those things other than what John's already talked about?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the biggest thing is ongoing development and support, and it's a little bit more like hiring someone to be a part of your team as opposed to just buying a product. I think people, when we first started the company back in 2011, people were a lot more skeptical of subscription-based models, but it's not as much of an issue anymore. I don't hear complaints about that very much. People are used to paying for things like Netflix and Amazon Prime, and it's not as much of an issue anymore. Which I think also benefits MSPs who are trying to get monthly service contracts for things like firewalls and managed antivirus and things like that. So it's gotten easier to pitch that type of model over time.
Yeah,
and I forgot one of the magic points about the Calyptix box is that your subscription fee includes new hardware every 2 to 3 years. You do not need to pay for. So I mean, you're going to get updated hardware as part of that. So high five on that.
Yeah,
sorry.
You can't beat that because hardware does get to the point where it's no longer supportable by even the companies that have created it, and they have to change those things at a certain point. Now they're providing that as part of the service. It's like, I mean, that's the best of both worlds.
It removes it from me having to think. It also removes the sales process to my customer. All of that. It just removes all of that friction so I can move on to something else.
Because they're paying for it over time. So it's not all of a sudden, hey, by the way, we got to spend $1,000 on this device this year, just so you know. Get your pennies in a jar and let's go.
It's the same example of picking on Ian again with Synchro. I mean, I don't have to uninstall and reinstall something every time Synchro updates a feature. I just get it because I'm a member. So I'm getting all those benefits of the ongoing development, just what Ian said.
Well, the other thing too is a lot of people don't think about this, but because we've been so bad at this as an industry as a whole for years of trying to use free products and not paying for things, I think a lot of times we forget that, hey, if you want said product to be around, then you need to support that product. And guess what? I don't know, Ian, can you take a thank you email to the grocery store and get groceries?
No.
Exactly. So the point is, in order for these products to be developed and made better over time, they've got to be supported. You can look at businesses since the beginning of time that were not supported monetarily that are no longer with us. And then there's some of those outliers, which makes no sense, like Twitter or whatever. But anyways, the reality is, from our standpoint of using the tools and things we use in our business to make money, you need to spend some of that money. And here's the thing. Guess what? Last year kind of hurt a little bit as far as taxes. You've got to have costs in your business that are going to offset, you just bringing every dollar in. Because I look at it this way, either a product or service is going to get my money to make my life easier, or the government's going to keep it. And my life's not going to be any easier. So it's still kind of a win-win. I think there's a shift. And yes, I understand a lot of it. You don't need to have everything under the sun when we're talking about these services, but you need to figure out what's going to work for you, what's going to make your life that much better.
Here's another great little example that I'll toss out there just because Rick in the chat put it out there. So there's a link. It's in the show notes now already, but there was a list that came out as part of WikiLeaks of, I forget how many routers. There must be like 100 routers, maybe even more in the list that have all been cracked and are able to be hacked with hacking tools. All right. So if you're dealing with a vendor, so now let's say Calyptix was on that list. They weren't, but let's say they were. I know they're automatically going to patch it. I don't have to do anything. So, I've just relieved labor. My customers know they're going to be upgraded. And I bet half the routers on the list, if you went to look, will never get any firmware update.
I don't know any consumer. I don't know any consumer grade routers that I've ever gotten. They might, and I say this might, over a 4 or 5 year period, might get one firmware update. Most of them get the big fat zippo, because I've done it time and time and time again, and I get nothing for it. So they're not solving their problem. What they want you to do, again, you're paying a small price. They want you to go out and just replace the product with the latest, greatest one every couple of years or whatever it is. So, Fram oil filter, pay me now or pay me later. You will pay at one point, and you just have to realize that.
And then we'll throw on the end of this. There are a lot of ways to skin this cat that maybe you don't want to use a UTM device. Like there are awesome products like the Edge Router X by Ubiquiti that you can then combine with other security platforms if you don't want it built into your routing or edge device. All right. But you have to have the knowledge and experience in order to protect yourself and protect your clients. So whatever tool you use, keep in mind that that burden is on you, especially if you're dealing with compliance. All right. It is your responsibility, and in some cases can be your liability as well, meaning you are responsible and liable for that protection. So keep that in mind as well.
I agree. And John, we were just talking about this the other day. We're laughing because we're meeting up and talking about some things. And I went log into my Oversee Hub, which I had added to my network like 3 weeks ago. And I couldn't get in with my login information. John's like, well, here's a generic login. Wouldn't you know it? I'm an idiot. Here's another time I made a mistake. I put this stupid thing on my network, never put a username and password. Now don't go try hack it. Now it's all changed. I've rectified that problem. But the reality is you forget things. You're adding stuff to the network. You're trying to do all this different stuff. And so a lot of times you need to make your life that much easier. And it was a mess up on my part.
Well, just to ask anybody, all the hundreds of companies we're hearing about that have publicly exposed data on their Amazon buckets, simply because they didn't check one checkbox. It can be that simple.
It's that easy. Absolutely.
Again, I'll pick on Ian. I think they host a lot of their stuff on Amazon. They probably have somebody that knows a lot more about Amazon EC3 than I do managing that, since there's, so you pay, there's services to do that.
Right. I mean, that's why we use Heroku. I don't have to worry about that.
Amen.
Yep. Yeah. A lot of times that is well worth it. All right, let's take another quick break, and then we'll get into some emails, unless we've got anything else to add to this. Our show today is brought to you by Ninja RMM, the easy-to-use, single pane remote monitoring and management solution to help you become more efficient, more productive, and more profitable. Ninja RMM understands what you need to help your customers, which is why their RMM solution is integrated with tools you use every day. With Ninja RMM, you can always have a faster fixed response time and offer preventative maintenance to your customers. Ninja RMM provides patch management, antivirus, email, SMS alerting. You can be up and running quickly with minimum training time. Plus, there are no contracts, so you can focus less on stress and more on your customers. Ninja RMM also offers things like remote support. You can remote into those computers, fix the problem without rolling that truck. Backup solution using Cloudberry Backup. Yeah, definitely one of the things that needs to be done for your customer is to have a backup solution in place. So they provide it all in one. You have network visibility inside your RMM, easy to read dashboards, and a powerful device search to create custom queries and export the list to keep your customers up to date on the hard work you do for them. All in the background, but all definitely billable. You also have an executive style report showing important system metrics such as health score, software added and removed, hardware changes, and TeamViewer connections. Ninja RMM is offering Podnutz listeners a free 30-day trial, and when you decide to buy, a 10% discount. Take advantage of this offer. Go to ninjarmm.com/10off. All right.
Hey, Ian, really quick, got a question in the chat. I don't know if you see that about Oroku. Do you have a domain you can pop in there? And I'll put it in the show notes as well.
It's Heroku. I think it's just Heroku.com. They have a really cool platform. It abstracts a lot of the development for you and gives you lots of tools on top of AWS, and it's a little more expensive, but it's awesome. Very scalable. They handle a lot of the stuff for you, such as security. Obviously, there's stuff we still have to do. It's not like we can't. We're still very, very focused on security, but there are certain things that they handle for you, such as like the patches on your Linux servers and stuff like that.
Nice. Thanks.
Yep. That's well worth it. All right.
Great question, Rick.
All right. Any other things on the UTM firewalls, John? Or are we ready to move on?
Just a shout out and a thanks. I won't mention his name, but that was a fantastic email, and thanks for sending that.
Yeah, appreciate it. All right. And John, I think you have the first email.
I do. And we're going to talk about a Microsoft Garage product called Mouse Without Borders. And I'll put a link into the show notes as well as the chat. And this is from Brian McDermott. Thanks, Brian. It says, hi, John. I was listening to the latest Podnutz computer repair podcast, as you should every time it's released. And you were talking about Jeff's new Logitech mouse that could connect to 3 different devices. Actually, Brian, let's be clear. I told Jeff to buy a Microsoft mouse. But anyways, this reminded me about an application that I use on my bench from Microsoft Garage that allows you to use your keyboard and mouse on up to 4 different PCs with the same IP address range. I found out about this on TechNibble a few years ago. It's free and it's called Mouse Without Borders. I thought you might like to try it and give it a try. I've been using it for over a year on 3 PCs and have been very happy with it. And the nice thing about this, and I'm adding on right now, is it looks like the Garage product has been continuously updated because the latest version is pretty new. The application needs to be installed on each PC. Once installed and each piece connected, you can arrange your machines in rows. So that, you can have multiple monitors and it works without a hitch, he's telling us. The only real issue is making sure your mouse stays on the screen of the PC you're working with while typing. Yep, been there, done that. Especially if you have a Skype window open on the other window. Yeah, you don't want to be adding information where you shouldn't. But yeah, good tip there, Brian. Thank you. And he ends with saying, thanks for all of your hard work. That would be me. And then Jeff as well on the podcast. I learned something new every show. High five, Brian. Thanks for sharing that. Good tip.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I don't know if I was added as an afterthought or they felt bad because they don't ever mention you.
Again, the bus just ran over me, but I'm okay with that.
Sorry, brother. All right, so let's go ahead. Ian, have you ever used anything like that where you've used multiple mouse and keyboard for controlling your computers?
Yeah, I have. I think my favorite way was just with a KVM. But I don't have one right now. I was looking into one the other week, but it seems like there's a whole new world out there of stuff, and it's been like a couple years since I've used anything like that. And I'm very open to suggestions. I probably need one because I've got a dev computer that's running Ubuntu, and I've got a Windows computer where I test lots of stuff. So I'm looking for something.
All right.
Open
Cool.
to suggestions.
Yeah, and I remember back in the day trying to use KVMs, and they were. Sometimes it could be a crapshoot actually using those things, but it's not switching over. It's a nice idea.
Are great, but it feels like even the ones you can buy now feel like they were all made in the 80s. It really does.
It's buy the more expensive ones. I think the cheap ones are like really bad.
I agree.
I might have to pull that out. I got a couple bench computers I could probably use. I might try that Mouse Without Borders and see how that works on 2 of the Microsoft Windows machines I got for bench testing. That would save at least a mouse and a keyboard. All right, so let's see. We're going to move on to our second email. Says, Dear Jeff, I'm a longtime listener of Podnutz. Thank you for your genuine contribution to the community. I was listening to number 276 and smiled as I too have invested in the Microsoft ecosystem of productivity, having come over from Windows 10 mobile platform. I know you've embraced the Android platform. In case you haven't already discovered how to select a different email address in the to line when writing an email from either an alias or from another account like Gmail, please watch the attached screen recording from my device. I hope you find it helpful. Let me stop right there. There's more to the email. I just want to say thank you for taking the time to actually record a video to help me out. That really meant a lot to me, that somebody would take the time to record their mobile device to show me how to pick a different email in a drop down so I could send from my multiple emails that I have in Outlook.
Who's this from again, Jeff?
This is from Erwin Velbis.
Yeah, Erwin, if you're at the ITO Compass, if you're a beer guy, I got one for you for that. That was awesome. Thanks.
Appreciate it. And a very, very cool video, too. All right. Be assured also that Microsoft is diligently working to integrate the most popular Wunderlist bought last year for the purpose of using a Microsoft to do at the tune of $200 million. I'm in the wrong business, man. That's all I have to say. All right. Migration of the code is taking longer than expected. Ian knows all about that, right, Ian? Supposedly because it's code that needs to be translated. Thankfully, Microsoft continually updates it in the Google Play. That's good. At least they're updating it. I appreciate your candor and pragmatic expertise in every episode. See that, John? candor and pragmatic expertise. I couldn't have said it better myself.
You don't even know what that means, but keep going.
I learned a lot, even though I am not formally in IT. I volunteer my nascent skill at my wife's elementary school. Oh, God bless you there. Thank you for unknowingly coming alongside me many times when I'm challenged in that service. God bless you and your precious family in all your endeavors, both in Podnutz and in leading your family. I really appreciate John and his acumen as well. See, you got acumen, John.
I'm Googling now.
I was going to say, apparently, Erwin is a heck of a lot smarter than we are.
He speak better English.
Right. Need to work on his favorite wireless mic headset, though. Yeah, we rectified that this week.
And again, that's why, Erwin, I want to let you know you are the reason I broke out the mic this week.
Appreciate that, Erwin. All right, definitely not the warm and clear sound of your studio setup. I appreciate it nonetheless. So no matter how your information is coming across, people appreciate you, John. Genuinely, Erwin of Elvis. Thank you, Erwin, and thank you again for that video.
And I'm going to jump on Erwin's coattails really quick. If you were a Wunderlist user and now you're upset that it's gone and you're using To-Do, there is a tool, I believe. There is a tool that allows you to import Wunderlist or Todoist, which is another product, into Microsoft To-Do. So just do a little Googling and you'll find it.
Yeah, I tried Todoist. I've tried Wunderlist. I think I've tried them all, John, at some point or another, except for Google Lists, or whatever they call that product now.
That would be Keep or Tasks.
Tasks. Thank you. All right. Anyways, the issue we were talking about, and here's what I figured out as far as the email. So when I put my multiple email addresses, even in the Google or the Gmail app on my Android phone, I put them in separately. So when I put them in, I can basically drop down and send from any of those emails. So if I'm crossing over, I get an email in one, but I want to send it from another because it pertains to either the podcast, my business, or personal. I can switch that and swap it on the fly, which is kind of cool. What I was trying to do, and I'm still looking into this, on the Outlook.com website, I input all of my email addresses the same way, thinking that when I log into the Outlook app on my Android phone, that everything would just come over as it is on Outlook.com. I don't think it's set up that way. I believe, in Erwin, if I'm wrong, let me know, but I believe it's set up just the same as the Gmail app, and I basically need to put in each and every email address that I need inside the app on my phone, and then I will get the same functionality of the drop-down menu and being able to send to, and not only that, having multiple signatures, which I've complained to John several times, and he just laughs at me. But it's important to me. That's all you need to know. It's important to me. So anyways, I will report back on that. Yeah, no, John. I will report back on that and see what I found once I make that switch and see if I can get that to work. But the recording is exactly the way I thought it should work. You should be able to click on that too. It does a drop down and send to. But I just have it basically, again, third time on this show, I have it set up wrong. Who knew?
Lots of errors this week, Jeff. Lots of errors.
Oh. All right, so let's see. I think now let me ask Ian, since you're here. Ian, what do you use for email? Like what service?
We use Google Apps.
Okay.
Yeah, we use Google Apps, and
you're in the Google universe, so you got an Android phone?
I have an Android phone. Lots of people on the team have Macs and iOS devices too. We're kind of all over the place. We let people use whatever they want. But yeah, we use Google Apps for email, and I've liked it. It's easy.
Okay. No problems getting your now. How many? Okay, let me ask you this. Here's another interesting question. How many email addresses do you have currently?
Well, I've got Ian at RepairTechSolutions.com. I've got Ian at RepairShopper.com. I've got Ian at SynchroMSP.com. I've had my personal email address. I have my email address from when I had a computer repair store. Wow. I don't know if that works anymore. I hope it doesn't, because then otherwise people might be sending me emails. Yeah, and then I actually have a couple more from other random projects I worked on in the past. So it's, but I only really check my personal one and my work ones, and they all actually go to the same place. So all my work emails go to the same place, and I just have that setting that says if you emailed me at ian@repairtechsolutions.com, for example, reply from ian@repairtechsolutions.com. So it's easy enough.
Okay, very good. John, how many email addresses are you rocking right now? One, which is why you laugh at my signatures. Whatever. All right.
I'm an alias kind of guy.
And I was confused. I get confused about this terminology. Why would you call it an alias when it's not really an alias? When I created an alias on my initial Microsoft account, which I use a Gmail address for, and I created this alias, no, it gave me another email account, which was my jhalash@outlook.com, which is ridiculous.
An alias is simply an email address that does not contain or have an account, meaning you can't log into an alias account.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it would just say that I am so awesome at mavengroup.net would just purely forward to John at mavengroup.net.
Now, what happens when
Nice
you
example.
send from that alias? Yeah, that's a good one.
It's purely as an
Now, what happens when you send from that email address using an alias?
It depends on your mail platform whether you can set that up to send from an alias or not.
Okay. All right.
Some platforms do allow that, some do not.
All right. All right, let's go into, it looks like our last email of the show. Just wanting to say thank you for podcast 276 on documentation. I'll post it here, but you could consider my response as an email for your show as well. This was inside the secret Facebook group. And this is a long email, but we're going to parse through it here real quick. And I think it makes a lot of good points. Many times it is very easy for us to think that a problem that we have or a quirk in the way we do things are just unique to us. But as I heard Jeff Halash talk about doing work and then trying to fill out the ticket after the fact or at the end of the month when billing is due, I thought you were talking about me. There's a common theme among all of us, whether we admit it or not.
Actually, he is talking about at least 4 of us from what we learned this weekend.
Exactly. So, okay. This was a big discussion. All right. I usually keep up with it fairly well, but the ones that I do set aside bother me for the entire month until I finally sit down and do it. And then I forget the details that should be on the ticket. Yes, you have to do your tickets on the fly as you're working on the machines. That's why a service like Repair Shopper and now the multiplication of Synchro MSP, where it pulls everything all in one, you need that way to do the documentation so that you know exactly what's happened, what you've done, what you haven't done. Very, very important. All right, let's see. I have the TechNibble computer business kit, but haven't used it too much. Oh, you should definitely use that. There's a lot of good things in there, and you can copy and paste those documents into stuff you're using. I have mine in Repair Shopper. Things like Instant House Call. You can click on those and take my terms and click on it, write your signature with a mouse or whatever, and it works really well. You mentioned Informed IT on the show, and I couldn't wait to get to a computer to check it out. I immediately purchased it when I got to an office. I'm getting ready to set up a custom drive enclosures and hard drives for a good client for a couple of Macs. And the comment by Taz in the chat made me stop and think I needed to document those drive serial numbers. Yeah, it was a great comment in the chat last week. Taz was saying, make sure you document your serial numbers for your hard drives. Reason for that is what I came up with in my brain was that if somebody were to be nefarious, and this is not going to happen a whole lot, but it could happen. Somebody wanted to switch a bad drive out and put it in there. No, this is a drive that you put in here. It's no longer working to get free work out of you or whatever. It's a good idea to have that documentation to back yourself up. And then, like I said last week, so you're not second guessing yourself. There's only so much brain power we have up here. There's only so many things we can remember. You're not going to remember it all. As a one-man shop and my business is starting to grow, I really need to start using more of these forms. I have a convoluted process, but most of it centers around Evernote, QuickBooks, Online, and Hours Tracker app for iOS, and the associated online subscription. Well, seeing as you're using iOS, I feel bad for you already. But besides that, here's the other thing. Okay. if you have the Tech-Enabled Computer Business Kit, I said this before, I have taken the documentation from the Tech-Enabled Computer Business Kit over 8 years ago, and I basically made it into a one-sheet form, a work order form, where they can read or fill in one side and sign the back. You can do it in PDF in the newer ones. So what I would tell anybody out there, as long as you can send me a receipt for the Tech-Enabled Computer Business Kit that you bought, I will send you what I put together out of that kit. But I need to see a receipt that you actually bought the computer business kit so that they get the money over there. And it's quite honestly at 99 bucks or whatever it is, it could be 129 too. It doesn't matter. It's well worth it. There's plenty of things in there that you can use in your business. And the foundation for 99% of it is already set up. There's just some tweaks and things you can make that will make your life easier for your business. All right. My problem is that over the years, places to store information have evolved, such as some contact systems in the 90s that I can't even remember the name, Outlook contacts, RoboForm, LastPass, Evernote, and Office documents. Yes. Sometimes when I try to go back to historical information, I have to think about the era that it occurred in, what I have been using at that time. Right now, I'm pretty good about documenting client information in Evernote and LastPass, but trying to get to be that good or get that good information about router configuration or office layout, etc., is getting very cumbersome, and I need to start documenting in standard forms and keeping them in a consistent location. I like the informed IT forms, as they did not seem to be much duplication from the forms in the computer business kit, and there are types of forms that I really need. Yes, get those forms too. Informedit.net. Matt Rainey has put those out, and again, you can adjust those to the way that you need to adjust those for your business and make it very simple for the information you need to capture so that you have that information at your fingertips, which I'm going to let John talk about this in a minute, because we had a whole weekend about this stuff. All right. Let's see. I was a bit disappointed in their content, but I think they will work. Yes, there's a lot. And what Matt did was he added so many things that you might not use, but you can take the combination of some of those and pull them together and get the information that you need. Because I've used them and they work really good once you tweak them for your business. I heard Brad Torrey talk about this spreadsheet he uses, and if Brad Torrey could share or sell some of those, I would be interested. I will put a link. I have a link to the Google Drive, my personal Google Drive, and there's a link that's attached for the Computer Repair Podcast audience. And what that will do is there are several documents that people have given us over time. That is one of the documents that's in there. And I will put that link in the show notes so you can click on that link and get that information, download it, and use it to your heart's content. There's also a documentation form for calculating expenses, I think, from our friend Jerry Bransfield. And Joe Kanazovich also had an Alexa command sheet. He made up a whole list of the Alexa commands so that you can have those if you are an Alexa person or you are supporting it so you know what they can actually do. All right. I have a free Repair Shopper account, but have barely looked at it. Oh, shame on you. I have been seriously thinking about trying to implement it for my business, but it almost seems too complex for my needs. It's not too complex for anybody's needs, in my opinion. Again, you need to start somewhere. The way I started with Repair Shopper myself, personally, was I would take the information that I had on the Tech-Enabled Computer Business Sheets, and I can't even remember how many hundreds there were, but it was a lot. And I took those, and I basically went and manually inputted that information into Repair Shopper, and then from there on out, that is what I used for. Now, I don't use the fancy things, the iPads and stuff like that for people to sign in their own stuff. I still think it's easier to hand a person a pen and a paper and the first time they sign it out. But usually it's only the first time they fill that out. Once it's in Repair Shopper and they come back to me, all I've got to do is click on a button. I can download another ticket. I could have them sign something, which a lot of times I don't the second time around. I just take care of them because the customers that come back are the customers I want anyways. It's a good fit. And they trust me. I trust them. And that's the way I do business. So you got to start somewhere, and then you will learn things over time. And it takes time to learn software, right, Ian?
Yeah. Yes. And if I could add something there, Repair Shopper and Synchro can do many, many, many things. So I don't blame you for being a little bit apprehensive about diving in, and there's a lot there. I will say we offer free demos. So shoot us an email, tell us that you want some help getting onboarded, and we'll be happy to schedule some time with one of our tech support people or myself, and we'll talk you through it and figure out what's going to work best for your business and get you started. And, you know, that's free. That's just a part of what we do. So I know it can be overwhelming at first because a lot of it's different. Some of the terminology might be different from what you're used to, and there's a lot of different modules in there, and, you know, you don't know where to get started, but you can just do one thing at a time and we can walk you through it.
Awesome. Appreciate that as always. And yes, it's a great team over there. You know, now that everybody's kind of merged together, but I've worked with all of them for many, many years now. And you ask a question, they will get back to you with an answer, and they're very good and knowledgeable about that stuff.
Well, and keep in mind too that you can get started for $0.
Right. Exactly. Yep. Definitely send that out. And we'll definitely have links to all that in the show notes also. Okay, let's see. And sometimes trying to implement something like this is like trying to change a flat tire while going 75 down the interstate without stopping. It seems to be geared more for computer repair shops, and actual computer repair is probably 3% of my business, as I mostly have a small handful of businesses I support. Sorry for the rambling. Don't usually take the time to comment, but I do enjoy the show. And this is from Rod Miller. Rod, I appreciate you taking the time to write a essay. And this is a great example of a well thought out email. This was actually a post in a secret Facebook group with a lot of good information and a lot of thankfulness for the things that we talked about. This is the stuff that makes me want to continue on with the podcast because it's reaching people. And I know I have those questions or had those questions in the past. And we just want to be here to be a help to those people that are asking these questions. Or maybe you've been doing it longer than I have. There's a lot of people that have been doing this business a lot longer than I have. And some of them wrong. But that's okay. Everybody can learn. I say that tongue in cheek. We always can learn something new. It doesn't matter how long I've been wrenching on computers, working with software. There's always something new that I could learn. John, any comments?
Good to go.
Good to go. All right. All right. Let's take another quick break. Ian, yeah, any other comments? I mean, I agree with you. Definitely reach out to Ian and his team over there and just get started in that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, in regards to the question about Synchro being break fix or designed for break fix, I think part of it is that a lot of that system was designed in Repair Shopper earlier. We've definitely added a ton of things that are MSP specific, and it's going to continue to evolve along those lines. So my dog just got surgery and has a cone.
Oh,
and was, yeah. Anyway, ACL surgery. So yeah, it's okay. She's a dog. So anyway, yeah, I think a lot of the MSP specific stuff, if you're used to Repair Shopper, you probably aren't. When you go into Synchro, you might not notice it at first. So there's a lot of new stuff in there. There's a lot of stuff that's different. Anyway, just I think if you could put in the show notes, you can give them a link to our website, and they can get in touch with me directly. I'm happy to show them what's different.
Okay. And yeah, your email will also be in the show notes too, under cool. Your contact information there. So we'll have all that stuff there.
Great.
Yeah. Again, I think it's important to just try some of the stuff out. And I'll say this: a lot of people, again, it's my opinion, and not only that, it's my show, so I can say whatever the heck I want. When it comes to break fix and MSP, I'm sorry, there's not a whole lot different other than the names. The names will change, but the job is pretty much the same. The difference is, and I don't knock this at all, the difference is you get paid. Break fixes, I get paid for a job as I do it, only when needed. MSP model or managed services model is a recurring revenue, which every business So people don't get confused. Every business should have recurring revenue. Again, recurring revenue has been around since the beginning of time. Okay, this is nothing new. We all act like somebody just came up with this great idea about recurring revenue. Been around a lot longer than I've been alive, and most of you. So the reality is, yes, you need that recurring revenue, and you want that solid money coming in. But guess what happens even on the recurring revenue side? You get paid monthly for taking care of stuff, and when it breaks, you got to go fix it. So let's not try to take the terminology and try to mess it up in our heads too much. Let's look at things from a logical standpoint, which is what I try to do. And so the reason I say that is because there's a lot of convoluted conversation. I think that the same things I can do on the break fix side of my business and the managed services side, they're pretty much identically the same. Now you can build a platform however you want to offer certain things on that plan that you offer for a monthly basis instead of waiting for people that are coming to you. But there's also, from a standpoint of break fix, if you're doing break fix, there's also a thing called marketing that you should be doing in between time to get more customers to come to you. Or here's another belief that a lot of people go, oh, that's not true. It is true. If you build up a certain base of customers, and I'm not talking about thousands, okay, you don't need to do that, in my opinion. You can build up a list of hundreds of customers, and you can be busy a fair amount of the time. You can be as busy as you want to be. But if you're always going out there and you want to get those new customers, you've got to do some marketing. But there are people that have maintained their businesses with a customer base, and they're perfectly fine with that. And they make good money doing it because they built a reputation. They built something that, again, it's people like them. They like their customers, and it works as a win-win. You can also be what I call a, and this is not a negative thing, but what I would call a turn and burn shop. You can turn them and burn them. Hey, come in. If I never see you again, it's okay. I don't care. Whatever. I use you this time. You're going to go down to the cheapest person the next time. That's not the customers I want. I want the customers that go, here's a bill. And they go, okay. I'll write you a check, or let me swipe my credit card or whatever. Those are the customers I want. And those are the customers, in my opinion, that everybody should be striving for. And it takes time to get those types of relationships. All right, let's take a quick second here before we end off the show. If you would like to support what we're doing here, i.e. the podcast, the information we're bringing, the stuff that we're doing, you can go to patreon.com/computer repair podcast. And if you want to give $1 per show, that's what we're asking, $1 per episode. And it's no more than $4 a month. So there's usually four shows. Sometimes I throw a freebie in there or whatever, but it's $4 a month. It's the price of, probably not even the price of a good Starbucks coffee. You can give up one of those. But what that does is that will get you into the secret Facebook group where you will be in a group of people, of like-minded people that will not make fun of you, that will not talk down to you, that will try to help you no matter the simplest question. And we got some really down and dirty, simple questions that need to be answered. But guess what? We're all learning from actually going back and going, oh yeah, how did I do that before? Let me figure this out. And we're going to do it in a nice way. And this is one of the things why I created a secret Facebook group, because I wanted people to have a safe environment to where they weren't going to be ridiculed and they were going to be taken care of in a nice manner. And the number one rule we have is no jerks allowed. And I've got, Paco LeBron, my enforcer. He'll go in there, and you go sideways, he'll yank you out. He's got the power. So, that has not happened yet. Everybody's been very respectful. Everybody's been very helpful in this group. So again, if you'd like to go to patreon.com/computer repair podcast and give to the show, that would be awesome. And we really appreciate it. And we've got some things that we'd like to do down the road, as far as giveaways and stuff like that. So
Jeff, it's not the enforcer. It's the bone crusher.
The bone crusher. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah. WWE. How did I forget that? Sorry, Paco. All right. Let me talk about our newest Patreon supporters. We have Chris Flush, and I hope I didn't screw your name up too bad. Stephen Hames, Cody Swanson, Matt Rainey. Yeah, Matt. Thank you, Matt. And I think Irina Naginsky. And I appreciate that. And here's one of the things, and I'm not going to mention a name, but here's one of the things that was in the Facebook group as in the last couple of days. And this person said, I can't believe it's been a year since I started my business, since I started listening to Podnutz and attending the Unconvention. I've learned so much about being an IT business owner. I continue to learn more from everyone in this group. I want to thank everyone from this group and Podnutz guys for my success and future success. And I just want to say a great big thank you to all of our Patreon supporters for your continued support. It really means a lot.
And I know who posted that, so right back at him, because he's not just receiving, he's giving too.
Absolutely.
That's the cool thing.
And the only reason I didn't mention his name, and if he gives me permission, I will. I didn't ask. I just didn't want to put that out there without letting him know. So that's the other thing inside the group for the people that are Patreon supporters and are in the secret Facebook group. If you want something to be mentioned on the show, like Rod Miller did for the show, go ahead and put that in there. We'll add it in. And these are the things we talk about. Plus, it's also going to give you the inside track of what's going on. Once a month, I put up a survey. What do you guys want to hear about? What are the topics that are hot for you right now that maybe we can pull some information together and talk about and see if we can find some solutions to those problems that people are having?
Maybe we could talk about the Legends Football League from this weekend.
Stop it. Just stop it now. Stop it now. All right. Anyways. Okay. I appreciate everything that both Ian and John have brought to the show today. Ian, you got any lasting thoughts you want to throw out there before the end?
No, I think I'm good. Yeah, if anybody needs to get in touch, you know how.
Okay. We'll have all that information in there. What's your number one email address you're using right now?
Well, they're all aliases. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Ian at synchromsp.com, Ian at RepairTechSolutions.com, Ian
okay.
at RepairShop.com.
Reason I asked Ian that is because I sent it to two different addresses because I didn't know which one he was using. But now we know.
They all go to the same place. So
all right, cool.
You don't want to complain about multiple email addresses, Jeff.
Oh, let's not. We'll talk about that next week, John.
Okay.
All right, John. Any lasting thoughts, and let people know where they can find you?
Go LFL. I'll see you on the Facebook group.
All right. Come join us live for the Computer Repair Podcast every Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern over at podnutz.com/CRP live. Join in on the conversation by hanging out in the chat room. You can send an email to podnutz@podnutz.com, or you can leave a voicemail and we'll actually play it on the show at 734-335-1000. I want to thank everyone for listening and subscribing to the show. We'll see you next time on the Computer Repair Podcast.